Today we're going to demonstrate how Engini works with APIs, allowing you to seamlessly connect and integrate with external services. Using HTTP requests and webhooks, Engini enables real-time communication between applications, making it easy to retrieve, send, and manipulate data across platforms. Whether you need to automate processes or trigger workflows based on events, Engini's powerful API tools provide the flexibility to manage everything efficiently without the need for coding. In this tutorial, we'll demonstrate a few key actions in Engini, including how to send an HTTP request, use a webhook, and parse data to make fields accessible and readable for further use. Our first example demonstrates an HTTP request sent to another workflow in Engini, triggered by a webhook. We fetch a single opportunity from Salesforce and send it with an HTTP request. Engini generates a secure URL, and we use the post method, but you can always change it to fit your request needs. Engini supports various body types such as JSON, HTML, and more, with flexible authentication options to fit any API platform. The opportunity data fetch from Salesforce is included in the body for use in the triggered workflow. You can also add headers or queries based on API requirements. Now, let's move on to the second workflow triggered by the HTTP request. This is the triggered workflow, which generated the safe-to-use URL we utilized in our HTTP request. The webhook acts as a trigger, meaning it initiates the flow whenever data is received, moving on to further actions. The webhook trigger allows you to load the expected JSON structure, making the data more readable and accessible. After this, we use compose string to display the name of the related customer opportunity. From here, you're free to leverage Engini's wide range of actions and functions to manipulate and use the data as per your requirements. Let's run the first workflow and see how both workflows integrate with each other. We can see that the workflow ran successfully. If we examine the HTTP request log, the status code is 200, indicating that everything went smoothly. It's important to note that this is the default value returned after a successful run, unless an alternative webhook response is sent. Now, let's move to the second workflow and see what happened there. Before diving into the workflow run details, take a moment to look at the history log. You'll notice that the last run was initiated by the system, and the status is success, meaning everything went smoothly. Now let's jump into the details to examine how the workflow responded. In the webhook output, you can see the opportunity retrieved along with all its related fields. After loading the JSON structure, we used the name field, which was displayed in our compose string action. This means all fields are accessible, and from this point, Engini allows you to manipulate the data according to your needs and requirements. Now let's present another example similar to the first one, but this time, we'll use a webhook response and parse actions. In this example, we'll perform the same actions with a few small additions. The triggered workflow will receive the data and use the webhook response action to send a customized message upon data receipt. This helps confirm that everything ran smoothly in real time and display a custom message. After receiving the message, we use the parse action to load the expected structure from our webhook response. This is efficient for making fields accessible and readable for future use. We then use compose string to display the message from the webhook response. Now let's jump into the second workflow to see how we use the webhook response action. We added the send webhook response action, which is designed to send a customized response whenever the webhook is triggered. We use the 200 status code to process this action, meaning a webhook response is sent upon a successful request, but you can select any status code to send a response based on the situation. You can also choose the body type to fit your needs. In this case, it's a JSON formatted body initialized with a message object that will appear in our request log. Now let's run our first workflow to see how everything works. The response we received in our HTTP request body displays the customized message we initialized in the webhook response action. Engini is great. The Parse Action structured the response according to our specified format, and through the compose string action, the output field displayed the message. This indicates that our parsing successfully made the data fields accessible and ready for further use. Moving on to our second workflow, before diving into the details, we can see that the last run was initiated by the system and shows a success status, meaning everything worked as expected. Now let's examine the details to see what happened with our webhook response action. We can see that the action was successfully performed as indicated by the 200 status code, and the body was formatted exactly as we intended. The message was sent and displayed in our first workflow as expected. And that's it. This demonstration is just a small glimpse of Engini's capabilities. Engini can work with any API platform, helping you manage your data efficiently, conveniently, and quickly. I hope this tutorial has been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching.